But there are definitely times when you see something visually and it looks too real and it's not fun to watch.
Elisabeth Moss can never forget the terrible smell of one tough scene. Yvonne Strahovski had to separate herself energetically from her scenes just to protect herself.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't slightly concerned about playing someone like Serena.
In turn, a seasoned actor was so repulsed by a gruesome scene that he refused to do it. And here, you thought the hairs on the back of your neck couldn't raise any more.
Everything has changed. The world is tilted on its axis.
Sure enough, it's tough being a cast member on The Handmaid's Tale, but the cast still finds time to do ridiculous stuff behind the scenes. By the end of our video, you'll understand why Elisabeth Moss objectifying a co-star is not the bad thing you'd think it would be.
I ask for justice.
Often described as the miracle of life, giving birth isn't meant to be easy, but it's still supposed to be a joyous event. Trapped in Gilead and forced into early labor, our character June might have thought it the stuff of nightmares. So imagine you're Elisabeth Moss and you have to bring this terrifying event to life with most of the world watching. Oddly enough, Moss doesn't appear to internalize this specific ordeal too much. Speaking to Jimmy Kimmel, she's able to laugh at the memory of what she calls her toughest scene yet.
Probably the birth scene in season 2 where I had to give birth by myself, naked.
The actress is a consummate professional, but even she has a breaking point. Describing the scene as very confusing and noisy, she unpacks that day in great detail.
But people kept asking me, like, are you okay? I know this is a really hard day for you.
Understandably, the cast and crew wanted to make sure it wasn't too much for her, but proving her steel, Moss recalls her reaction.
And I was like, I'm not really giving birth, right? Like, this is fake. Like, I think this is easier than actually giving birth.
Contrary to what you might think, it's not the nudity that bothered her the most, considering that she's been a producer on the show since season 1 and has full say on which of her nudity or sex scenes makes the final cut. That must make it a bit easier to watch June go through some of her terrible ordeals. She's incredibly lucky to be working in a collaborative atmosphere where she has full ownership over what's aired and what is not. She can literally say, you cannot use that scene. I was lucky in the sense that 5 years ago, I worked with Jane Campion on Top of the Lake. It was my first nude scene and she gave me 100% approval without me asking. So it wasn't the nudity that made the birth scene tough. Instead, what made the event so unappetizing had everything to do with the poor baby. Not by any fault of its own, it turns out.
There was one baby that, in order to get that, post-birth look, the gook that comes on the baby, they put cream cheese and jelly on the baby.
Not surprisingly, the baby was not into it. Moss remembers the terrible smell of cream cheese and jelly. Suddenly, the seriousness of that scene where June was naming the baby after her mother gets a whole new meaning.
This baby's just screaming at the top of its lungs in my ear.
As Kimmel pointed out, that's what you get when you make an English muffin out of a baby. It's not all doom and gloom on the sets. Keep watching to learn how the cast manages to keep things lighthearted when the cameras aren't rolling. Moss certainly deserves due credit for pretending to give birth and making it look real, but there's another actress who had to do the real thing. Be warned. Possible spoilers for season 4 ahead. As one of the main antagonists on the show, Serena Joy is easy to dislike, but she's a complex character who sometimes garners sympathy, although any warm-hearted feelings towards her are mostly short-lived. In Gilead, infertility in men is illegal to discuss, and women are blamed for being barren. That's why it was always hinted that Serena could conceive a child, while Commander Waterford was sterile. This question was finally answered in season 4, when we learned that Serena is pregnant. Ahead of season 3, arguably the darkest season yet, the award-winning actress Yvonne Strahovski fell pregnant in real life.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't slightly concerned about playing someone like Serena while pregnant. It was definitely on my mind. I sort of tried to separate it as much as possible. Energetically, I would envision my growing baby in a safety bubble on set.
At that stage, not everyone knew about her pregnancy yet, but then it came to a point where there were violent scenes, like the rape scene and the fight with Fred in the lake house. This made her realize she had to tell at least her cast members. Showrunner Bruce Miller kept this in mind while writing the remainder of the oppressive scenes, and everything was very safe. During the later phases of Yvonne's pregnancy, everyone on set knew.
I was working, the last 5 episodes of season 2, I was pregnant and everyone knew it because I had like a spitting problem. I had like excessive saliva and I had to have spitty cups everywhere on set.
Her baby boy was born in late 2018, and the actress describes filming on the 3rd season as one of the hardest and most challenging moments ever in her entire career. They were already filming around the time I was giving birth, and they were waiting for me to show up. Having to play catch-up on the backed-up Serena Joy scenes wasn't easy. How would you feel if you had to return to work and film oppressive content with a newborn in your trailer? Add to that her sleep deprivation, plus she was breastfeeding. With the help of her insanely amazing husband, the actress returned to work a mere 7 weeks after giving birth and has since opened up about how difficult it was. She was literally running in between the set and her trailer, breastfeeding on demand and doing scene work. What made this time especially tough were the stark differences between the show's dark content and the joy she found in being a new mother. It was crazy being all miserable Serena and then coming in and having so much joy looking at my baby, and then going back into the scene and then coming back again and breastfeeding and being happy. Thankfully, Yvonne overcame all the obstacles in her way and is enjoying the best moments in life. Kudos to this phenomenal actress who manages to bring the stone-faced Serena to life when she's clearly nothing like her character. Quite the contrary, she has opened up about another massive struggle. Her conscience haunts her, even when she's just doing her job. I apologize a lot to Elizabeth Moss on set. I apologize to everyone. I feel like it took me a little longer to win people over off camera because I'm always worried people will think I'm like that in real life. What a testament to her acting skills. Talking about juggling many balls at once, there's something we never really knew about Elizabeth Moss. She probably won't ever admit this herself, yet her co-star Joseph Fiennes exposed a typical day in her life. When Vulture asked Fiennes what it's like hanging out with Moss offset, he simply laughed. He says her timetable is hectic and she's probably up at 4 each morning. If Joseph is right, she sounds like a workaholic, but we're not complaining. Over weekends, she's learning scripts or doing voiceover work while the rest of the cast are enjoying their Sundays off. She juggles acting and producing and is said to spend her lunch breaks in meetings and watching dailies. I feel shattered and ashamed thinking about her extraordinary work ethic, Fiennes admits. This seasoned actor isn't always in a joking mood though. Just like Yvonne had to consciously protect her unborn baby from the horrors of the scenes they're bringing to life, Fiennes had a tough time playing Commander Waterford.
He rationalizes the truth to suit his own narrative.
I am genuinely affected by some of the things we have to do, Fiennes admits. Personally, he was repulsed by many acts in the show. In the world of Gilead, women are objectified and abused, so it's not that shocking to hear that there is one specific scene that nauseated Joseph so much that he fought to have it cut. It's also quite telling when you hear that Fiennes himself reveals he's actually worked on comedies that are much more dark and depressing off camera. For real? Yeah. Apparently this cast manages to keep the horrors of Gilead where it belongs, in the show. We all know we have to navigate quite a dense, complicated narrative. In order to go there, there's got to be a lightness so we don't spend time breaking it down. He even jokes that if you were to listen to their conversations when not filming, you'd think they weren't very intelligent. In any case, you can thank Fiennes for sparing you one scene involving Fred taking advantage of Serena against her will. The actor revealed that he fought extremely hard to get it removed from the final cut. It just felt like an idea to push the misogyny, and I felt like it was all already there. It didn't need to be so brutally illustrated. Joseph felt it was too graphic and out of character for Waterford, which says a lot about how cruel the scene must have been. In the end, it seems the writers and directors listened, since it was cut out of the show. Fiennes wasn't the only one struggling. As surrogate mother for the Handmaids, Aunt Lydia commits so many cruel acts against her charges that it's tough to decide who to hate more, her or Waterford. But in real life, Anne Dowd, who plays Aunt Lydia, is a mother of 3 children. She admits that she struggles disciplining her own kids, so she's appalled by how Lydia treats her handmaids. Bringing those scenes to life are really tough on her. Well, you'll be glad to know that the cast doesn't hate their jobs and knows how to have fun, like distracting themselves by watching The Bachelor and dancing. On freezing days, the show is filmed in Canada after all, Moss and Max Minghella could be found singing Taylor Swift songs to keep warm. And while Elizabeth has a hectic schedule, she still enjoys the finer things in life, like appreciating Max's beautiful neck.
I developed something that I really loved doing, which was the complete objectification of Max Minghella, who plays Nick. You know, he's a beautiful man. He's a beautiful man. And, you know, there's no denying that.
For some reason, coming from her, we don't mind such objectification, right? She and cinematographer Stuart Biddlecombe actually designed scenes to highlight his beauty.
We'd just be sitting there and be like, oh God, isn't he beautiful? Look at him. Look at him, he's so handsome. Look at those eyebrows. God, he's good.
On that note, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our other video about moments in history that inspired The Handmaid's Tale. And remember to stay awesome.